Hi, welcome to the Dairy Hour podcast, where rural charm meets personal growth. Join us as we milk every moment for wisdom, self-improvement, and mental wellness. I'm your host, Val Lavigne, a rural dairy farming mom with a passion for filling hearts while never forgetting to fill my own cup. Get ready for insightful conversations, empowering tips, and a splash of fun and laughs, of course. Let's cultivate growth, nourish our minds, and embrace the journey together. This is the Dairy Hour podcast, where every episode is a breath of fresh air and the inspiration you need to be your best self. Hey Dairy Hour listeners, this is Val Lavigne, and I'm thrilled to tell you about an event you won't want to miss. Mark your calendars for the Forward Together National Conference happening in Kansas City from November 5th to the 7th, 2024. This incredible conference hosted by the Dairy Girl Network is the perfect opportunity for dairy women, whether you're on the farm or in the industry, to come together, learn, and recharge. With over 25 dynamic speakers, engaging breakout sessions, and thought-provoking panel discussions, you will leave feeling energized, connected, and armed with new knowledge to succeed in your daily journey. Oh, and I'll be there. I can't wait to connect with all of you. From sustainability to leadership, there's something for everyone. Plus, if you can't make it to Kansas City, don't worry. You can join us virtually from anywhere with their interactive on-demand option. Join us for 3 days of networking, learning, and a whole lot of fun. Registration is now open, and it's time to book your travel for the best price. Head to dairygirlnetwork.com to learn more and register. Registration will close in early October. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Dairy Hour podcast. I am your host, Val Lavigne, and I am joined today by my friend, Megan Schrupp. Megan, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's so great to be here. It's so great to see you, even though we're thousands of miles apart.
A little bit. Megan is joining us from the great state of, Minnesota, right? Or I guess A is Canada, but I'm not good at the Minnesota accent. We're just going to let you guys, and shout out to our friend Carl. He's the expert at the Minnesota accent.
Yeah, he sure is. And I'm sure you all hear it as I talk. I've been told, are you from Canada several times? And I'm like, well, maybe guilty by association. We're pretty close to Canada. So,
oh my gosh, I love it. So Megan is one of those really great people that I got to meet through the National Milk Young Farmers Association, or young, oh my gosh, what am I? YC program, Young Farmers Program. I don't know where association came from today. We'll blame it on today. Anyways, she's just one of those really great people that when you get to chat with her, she just has lots of fun stories and interesting things going on in her life. So I've been really excited to get you on. So Megan, why don't you start out by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm Megan Schrupp. I'm a third generation dairy farmer with my husband here in central Minnesota. We're located about 2 hours straight west of the Twin Cities. And I'm also a dairy veterinarian. I actually graduated from vet school and practiced for a few years before coming back to my family dairy farm. And in 2015, my dad and my uncle decided to send the dairy on to the next generation. And so we kind of took over from there in 2015. And now I spend most of my time running the dairy with my family. We milk about 1,200 Jersey and Jersey cross cows to produce cheddar cheese here in the upper Midwest. And I do a little bit of vet work still on the side, just for some friends and other farmers that I really enjoy working with. Some have been, long relationships, and it's just fun to continue to see those dairies just thrive and grow. So I still do a little bit of that, but most of my time here is spent on the dairy farm and then getting into other projects and fun things, such as a farm market with my sister where we do fresh cut flowers and honey and maple syrup and all the other things. So we stay busy here in Minnesota.
All the fun things. So I love Megan's got her own exclusive veterinarian club, and you can only get her vet work if you're one of the select few. That's fun. It's like a buy-in fee. If you want me to do your vet work, it's going to cost you X, Y, and Z.
You have to be fun, and you have to have a great time farming, and you have to have a positive attitude and willing to learn. Those are the fun people to work with, right?
I love it.
We can all grow and be better together.
I'm sure that veterinarians around the country are going, man, how do I get to do that? Because I'm sure that the majority do not get to pick and choose who they get to work with. So that's a
Yeah,
pretty lucky.
unfortunately not. Sometimes in certain areas of the country, yeah, you are limited on who can provide. But here in Minnesota, we're kind of up in the central part of the state. There's a lot of dairy around here. So there's a lot of veterinary clinics, a lot of support, a lot of infrastructure here in Minnesota. It's a great state to dairy in. Great state to dairy in.
Awesome. So let's rewind and talk about growing up. Were you active on the dairy as a kid?
Yeah, actually, it was. So when I started helping the farm, my dad and my uncle actually milked in a tie stall barn. We milked about 100 cows in a tie stall. And so I started helping milking in that. And the facility at that time was pretty much shot, wore out. And so with two families, my dad and my uncle had to make a decision, were they going to expand the dairy and take on a lot of debt in preparing it? Maybe then the kids would want to take over. I'm the oldest of all the kids on the farm. There were 6 girls. So between my sister and my cousins, there were no boys. So they decided to take the plunge and just build a whole new site. So when I was in 10th grade, they decided to build the dairy to 300 cows. So I kind of transitioned and helped transition from that tie stall kind of era into the free stall with a double milking parlor that, and I worked in high school, but in all honesty, it's really interesting where you end up. I wanted to be a meteorologist for years.
Oh, that's a twist.
I wanted to work with weather and not on the news, but just like in the background and forecasting and that sort of thing. I did not want to come back to the family farm. I didn't want to work with cows. My dad always tried to tell me I'd be a great veterinarian. And I just was like, nope, I'm done. I'm moving away. I'm not coming back. And, it's funny how life takes turns. I went to college for a year and realized that, if I want to do meteorology, it was probably going to be more of a sitting at a computer and doing that sort of thing. And I can't sit still. I got to be out doing things and outside. So
yeah,
kind of I have to learn. My dad was right.
I got to pause you for 1 second and bring it back to when you said it's what you and there's 6 girls.
Yes.
So a farmer that we know, he always said, because he had like a couple girls and he had my dad and my dad just has me. And his saying was, well, don't fret about not having any boys to work on the farm because where you have girls, you'll soon have boys.
Yes.
And here we are. That's apparently how things go. So it just reminded me of that little saying because it's pretty funny because where you have the girls, soon you'll have the boys, soon enough.
Yeah, that's 100% true. That's what we joke about here on the farm too.
As a mother of 2 young girls, and well, we do have a son, but I'm always just like, I am not ready for that. And I know it's going to come way sooner than I'm ready for it. So they can just stay back. So you went off to college for meteorology and decided that was not going to fly. And I mean, being a farmer now, though, you kind of are a meteorologist. I mean, I have a feeling that you can probably tell the weather that's coming just as good as the forecasters some days. It seems like sometimes it's not overly reliable.
No, not at all. Sometimes you have the best laid plans and everybody thinks they know what's going to happen and it never works out that way.
Mother Nature says, hold my beer.
Yes, pretty much. But, and that's the cool thing about farming is like, it's, we still do a ton with the weather and it's super interesting to me, but I don't know. I just felt like I had a calling to, my dad was maybe right and I should go be a veterinarian. And so I jumped all in on that. My first year of college, actually transferred schools to the U of M.
Okay.
From NDSU. Yeah. So I went all in, I moved down to the Twin Cities and the rest is history.
Awesome. So you went through vet school. Where did your husband come into the mix?
I met my husband. This is pretty classic, like rural story. I met my husband at the county fair. Yeah.
One of those redneck relationships. And what stage of your life were you in when you met your husband?
I was in undergrad, I think halfway through undergrad. I just came home, all my younger sister and cousins were still showing at the fair. So I kind of came home to help and he was helping his younger sister show and we kind of met there. So.
And the rest is history?
The rest is history. Yeah. We actually just came back from showing at the same county fair
Perfect. Got to keep those traditions
Yes.
alive, right?
Yep. Yep.
Now,
So
so he is from a farm as well?
yeah, so he actually grew up with registered Guernsey cows, like 10 miles away, but we went to different schools, so I didn't know him. And he had a construction build business. So he was a contractor by trade and doing that, working off the farm. And that's kind of so what we do now, we show Guernseys. We're known for showing Guernsey cattle at World Dairy Expo, and that's kind of where the Guernseys fit in. They came from his grandfather, actually, grandfather and great grandfather.
See, it all ties together, doesn't it?
Yes, yeah.
So, okay, so you graduated college and you did not go right back to the farm.
No, I went into practice for a few years. I actually didn't know that I wanted to come back to the farm. I just wanted to be a dairy veterinarian. So I went and worked for a really progressive, large dairy practice here in Minnesota and wanted to just kind of go all in on that, like do employee training, Spanish and English, consulting work, reproductive services, protocol development, records analysis, kind of did a fair amount of that for 2 years. And then the opportunity came up after 2 years that I was doing our family vet work after hours and weekends. It was pretty busy. And then they were kind of hinting like, maybe you just want to come work here.
How does just being here sound? Let's try this.
Yeah.
Were you like kind of cautious at first, or were you like all in, this is the right step? How did that decision go about? How did that decision come about for you?
I was kind of like all in. It just felt really natural. And that was the thing, like after I made the decision to go to vet school, it just seemed like everything, all those decisions just kind of like opportunities presented themselves and it just kind of worked out. And, the really cool thing about our family farm is my dad and my uncle, they're amazing in that they had the foresight early on to really set up the dairy to transition it to the next generation. And so it took a long time. We did a lot of like personality assessments and we had a lot of family meetings with a third party. It probably was, I would say, probably 7 to 10 years process before we got into the dairy. That my uncle and my dad had been laying plans to like set it up to transition it. And looking back is such a blessing. I mean, I work with so many farms where the grandfather still owns the cows, right?
Yeah.
And it's or families that are really having that tough, it's hard to have that tough conversation. One brother might not be willing to like let go so much or to trust the decisions being made by the younger generation. We were really, really fortunate, my cousins and I and my sister, that my dad and my uncle were, even when it came back, my uncle was great. He did a ton of the cow management stuff. Well, as a veterinarian, that's kind of naturally where I fit in. And he was really, really great at like letting me present, different ideas or different changes and letting me grow in that role versus I see a lot of people where young generation comes back and it's really hard to get any change on the facility. And now owning the dairy, being in my uncle's role now as an owner, I could see that it would be really, it's really a little bit to trust, to trust someone to kind of hand down the reins a little bit, like, so I feel really blessed that my family like provided us those opportunities. And I think that's part of the reason that the whole process has gone so successfully.
Yeah, that's really great because transitions are just a notoriously very hard thing in the dairy industry and in any agricultural industry. We don't have the best setup in the country for doing all of this. And it's definitely one of those things like there are people out there, but, getting it figured out, getting everyone on board to even have someone to come in and help or getting everyone to agree on how the process is going to work, that is a really tricky thing. And you're definitely lucky to be, I go out on a limb and say one of the few that's had a relatively smooth transition because I know that unfortunately they're not usually smooth and sometimes it ends up in the farm not being there anymore because nobody can agree. So, but that also comes, I think, with working with family and everyone being on different pages and stuff like that. So, how many of your generation have come back to the farm?
So there are currently two of us. So the dairy, we had two. So when my dad and my uncle ran the farm, it was called Becker Dairy. and we had two milking sites. They purchased the second site when I was in vet school, anticipating that it would be easier to split a dairy if you had two different milking facilities and there was an opportunity to buy a nearby farm. So they had done that. So when it came time to transition it to the third generation, the two dairies simply the two families kind of simply split, if that makes sense. So my uncle and his daughter have one site. And then our dairy, Next Gen Dairy, is my husband and I with my parents. And during that time, there were another few, like I had another cousin that was back for a brief amount of time with the other site. And my sister, she's involved here too at Next Gen Dairy. So of the six, probably like four are working on the dairy in some sort of role. So which is pretty good, 4 out of 6.
I was going to say that's a high percentage for the next generation coming back to the farm. Yeah. Obviously, your dad and your uncle were doing something right to encourage you girls to come back. And is your husband also involved on the farm, or is he more still off-site?
Oh, he stopped construction in 2011 when we had that housing market crisis in Minnesota. The construction really slowed down, and a lot of it moved to North Dakota with the oil boom. And so a lot of his crew decided with young families that they kind of decided to split. And my dad and my uncle kind of needed more help at that time. So he actually, while I was in vet school, left construction and was working on the farm before I came back. So he's been here for a long time. Yeah. So he's kind of feeds cows in the morning, we do our own construction. Actually, we've done a fair amount of projects since we've taken over. So last summer we built a freestyle barn. He did that for concrete. We do all of our own crop harvesting, manure management, putting manure out in the fall. Kind of our goal, like as our dairies, we try to do as many things ourselves as we can. So we do our in-house foot trimming work, AI services, pretty much everything, nutrition work. Yeah. As a busy mom and dairy farmer, I'm always looking for ways to support my family's health as well as my own, and I absolutely love Wonder Cow Colostrum. It's packed with essential nutrients, great for supporting gut health, boosts immunity, and promotes overall wellness. Whether it's for me, my kids, or anyone looking to stay strong and healthy, Wonder Cow is my go-to daily supplement. I've been taking it for a year now, and it is irreplaceable in my daily routine. If you want to experience the amazing benefits of colostrum too, you can use my special code, DairyGalVal, at checkout for a discount. Give Wonder Cow a try, and you will definitely feel the difference. That's good. And it's neat that you have both gone out and found different skills prior to coming back to the farm, but those skills are still coming in really handy at the farm. It's a really great way to make yourself very well-rounded and prepared for the future, and I like that. So you also mentioned in the beginning that you are starting another venture, or you've started another venture with your sister. Yeah.
Do you want to talk on that a little bit more?
Yeah. So when COVID hit, we and that's the cool thing about COVID, like it really got us talking conversations about farming and food, and everything pretty much shut down. And that was we had kind of talked about, we both loved gardening and flowers and before that. And we kind of always talked about having a little farm market and sharing our story a little bit. And COVID kind of gave us the time to do that. So during that time, we started up a little farm market that quickly has grown. And so we do vegetables. We have a garden here on the farm. And then our fresh cut flower business has boomed. So my sister is running full speed ahead with the fresh cut flowers. So we do bouquets and we have a little farm stand. We have a large lake community here being close to the Twin Cities. So we're just open on weekends. And then we can sell our honey. And this year we got a lot of maple syrup. So that was fun. The winter weather was perfect this year for maple syrup production. So yeah.
And you guys are running your own bees as well?
Yeah. Yep. So we're doing bees. So we do a lot of fun things on the farm. We actually also power our farm with solar power. So we have a few solar fields. We have one main one that powers the dairy, and then a smaller one that would power some of our heifer barns. So the bees were out kind of in that grassy area around our solar fields. Okay. So is where we have the hives. Yeah.
Okay. And are you producing enough energy with the solar fields that you're putting some back into the grid, or are you just solely running the farm on it?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And so the big solar field we have across the road from the dairy that powers our dairy. So that there, and the way that the solar contracts work is any excess power that's put off by that rate, we're not getting paid by our local co-op. We're getting paid very, very little, next to nothing for that excess power. So we size that just to power the dairy. But then in the state of Minnesota, you can build a smaller solar field at the time, especially you could build a smaller solar field and up to 40 kW, and that rate, that extra power, you sold that back onto the grid, was you were reimbursed for that at a rate that was just under what you would be paying to purchase electricity. So we built that second solar field just to produce power to sell onto the grid. However, since that time, we've brought all of our heifers back on site. So we use a little bit more of that power now than we used to. We used to use very, very, very little of that. Most of that was going back onto the grid. Now we are using a little bit more of that, but we do still sell some off of that.
So, okay. A nice little farm income.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's great. And I think, if we have this land available, and we actually originally looked at it because we have these big barn roofs, and we were wondering, like, what if we put solar panels in all this barn roof area of all this space that we could maybe generate some electricity from? But because our facilities are a little bit older with the insurance company and whatnot and engineering, we determined with our snow load here in Minnesota, we can't really put the solar panels. Yeah, just a little bit.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you guys are one of the snowiest places, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah. And some years worse than others. This last winter, we had a fair amount of snow. So, but we love it. I love the snow.
Yeah, I think you have to live where you do. You can keep all that. I'll not take snow. So do you run into issues with the solar fields with the snow? Do you have to go out and you don't have to go out and brush the panels off or anything, do you?
We usually don't. I mean, if we get a heavy snow load, they'll be covered for a few days, but actually they warm, with the sun hitting the rays, it heats them. And so it'll melt off really, really quickly. Okay. Yeah.
Well, that's nice. So you have syrup, you have bees, you have solar, you have cut flowers, vegetables. Is there anything that you guys don't do?
Yeah, it's now becoming like time, hours in the day is the limiting factor of like, okay, what do we all have to get done today? But really, we're just trying to what do we enjoy doing, and how do we share a story, and how does our dairy farm kind of produce to the future, and what does a modern family dairy farm look like? And that's been part of the fun thing about having the market, is it really allows us to kind of share a story. And it's next to the pasture where we have the Guernseys grazing and stuff, and it's amazing about questions we get from people about cows and agriculture and things like that. So that's been the fun part in all this.
Awesome. I love it. That's a really great story of how everything came about, and just all the diversity that you guys have is really, really interesting. And whose project, I'm fascinated by the bees. I'm sorry. Whose project was getting the bees? I don't think it's not an easy thing to just all of a sudden be like, I think I'm going to get some bees.
Yeah. So my sister is very interested in bees, and I was as well. So we kind of did it together to start. We're pretty close to the University of Minnesota, and they have a fantastic bee course that's open to the public. So we actually took a bee course and learned all about beekeeping and the basics and what we needed. And we have a distant family member that actually has a company that provides bees and bee supplies. So yeah, we can ask questions there, but they are so fascinating. Like bees, it's just super cool, all the things that we've learned. And yeah, it's amazing. They are so smart, and how they run their colony, and how they can tell other bees where the pollen is, and all the things. And the honey is incredible. And having unlimited, I mean, for the two of us and our families, kind of have unlimited honey for baking and cooking and all the things. It's delicious.
That's awesome. They've always fascinated me, but I don't think that I have the time to sit there and do it right. And it intimidates me a little bit, but I always am jealous of people that are beekeepers and have colonies of bees. We used to have an older gentleman when I was a kid, and he would keep a couple hives on our farm. He'd basically place them in the spring and then come get them in the fall and winter them. at his house. It was it was pretty neat. And I just remember when I was a kid riding the horses, it was like out by where I would go on a trail ride here on the farm, and the horses were always a little bit nervous around the beehives, but we'd always kind of take the detour around them because they were like, I'm not really sure about all these bees, but they are really cool.
It's amazing too. Like when we go open the hives to check on them, because they are flying around everywhere. So I get that, like, because like with horses, they hear them buzzing and they're flying around. But it's amazing, like when you go open them, we wear bee suits and then you have to smoke them a little bit, but you can feel when the hive gets angry. It's weird. It gets like this weird energy. You can tell, like, if you're not smoking them enough and they're getting a little angry. It's the oddest like feeling, and you're like we need some more smoke, or like maybe we better stop and come back later because they're getting kind of mad.
Oh
It's
gosh.
crazy.
Yeah, I don't know if that's right up my alley, but my gosh, I'll let you do it. I'll just next time I see you, you'll have to bring me some honey.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'll just mail you some honey.
Perfect. I'm here for honey. So with that, I like to jump into some just fun rapid fire questions to get to know you a little bit better.
Sure.
So what's your favorite hobby?
Oh, my favorite hobby probably is, oh, that's a tough one. It's either working with cows, so we show cows, and I just like working with cows. So it's either like showing cows. We have a large community of people and friends in showing cows. So that's really fun to like go to the shows and see people those few times a year from all over the United States. So that's pretty fun. Our other hobby is my husband and I spend a lot of time skiing up in Montana in the winter. So as farmers, that's kind of the time of the year where we slow down. So we go out to Big Sky, Montana, and we spend a fair amount of time skiing. So yeah.
Sounds cold. Again, you can ski for me
Snow.
also.
Snow. Us Minnesotans and our snow.
You can have it. Oh my gosh. What is your Oh my gosh, there's a fly. It's driving me nuts. I'm sorry. I'm like spazzing out if you could see.
Hey, at least it's not a bee. It's not a bee.
It's running into the side of my face. It needs to die. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see. Introvert or extrovert?
Depends on the day. Could be either.
Depends.
I'm probably a little bit more extroverted. Some days though, I'm like, can I just do a podcast?
It depends on how much coffee that I've had.
Yes, there. That's my answer. That's a great answer. Yes.
It's judged based upon the amount of caffeine that I've consumed in one morning. I like
Yes.
it. I'm the most I don't know if I'm the most introverted extrovert or if I'm the most extroverted I'm not sure which way it goes.
That's a great way of saying it too. Yeah.
I like
100%.
It depends on my mood and it depends on like the vibes around me. So
Yes.
and I come back from meetings and I am like exhausted because of being on all the time. And I'm just like, I get done and I'm like, oof, okay. And we take a break. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to do anything. Yes. But I too can just hole up with a book and be perfectly fine. If you could time travel, would you go to the past or the future?
I would go to the past. I'd
Why?
go to the past, and I probably would go to, I can't decide. I would think it'd be cool to like pop in and out, right? Like what I really would love to do is go see when my grandmother was little. I'd love to see them like cooking and canning and like how they would save food and gardening and that sort of thing. Like prior to like when we had all the cookbooks after World War II, like I would love to go to like see the food and like, because right now like food is such a hot topic in conversation, like the story of where it comes from or nutrition, that sort of thing. So I would love to like go to the pre heart research, the pre like all of that before World War II, before processed food, and like just see. I'd love to visit with my grandmother again. Like that's the cool thing about farming. Like, and we've had all this on the stand and the COVID got this conversation started, but now it's like my grandmother passed away before that. And I just so wish I could have a conversation with her. Like I'd have so many questions about like how did you do sauerkraut? How did your mother do sauerkraut? Baking bread, the canning, like
I just need to point out you are such a Midwesterner. How did you make your sauerkraut?
yeah,
New Yorkers would
German
not say,
Catholic dairy
"Did you make
farmer.
your sauerkraut?" Oh my gosh, that's great. Yep, that's the Midwesterner coming out right there.
Yeah, 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 guilty.
And that's also how you know you're from Minnesota because I figured out that everyone from Minnesota judges by how far they are from the Twin Cities. Like that's how you
Yeah,
tell where you are in Minnesota.
yes, yes, that is also true. Now that you say that, yeah, pretty much.
These are just casual observations. And I love it because all of you guys that I've met from out there have been absolutely fantastic. So, but it is just the funniest thing because everyone be like, "Oh, where are you from in Minnesota?" "Oh, I'm from so and so to the Twin Cities." And I'm like, "That means nothing to me, but okay." Sure. Gosh, I love it.
That's hilarious.
Um, how about, what's your favorite if you're like up at night hankering for a midnight snack, what you going for?
Ooh, I'm not a snacker late at night. I mean, if I'm up late at night, it's usually like, oh, I need a glass of water or I'm so thirsty. I'm an early to bed, early to rise. So we're early to bed in our house. If we probably snack, like it's probably cheese. We're a big cheese
Again, a true
snacking. Our
Midwesterner at
cheese
heart. Yeah.
drawers, maybe a little bit of OC. If I'm gonna true confession, maybe have a little too much cheese in my refrigerator. So we're
There is
like,
no such thing as too much.
I agree.
So I may have said this on here before, but I got a new refrigerator a few months ago, and I went from like one of those classic like white, the freezer on the top, the fridge on the bottom kind of thing. And we got one of the big ones with the double doors and the chest freezer underneath, and it's like huge compared to my other one. And it's got this big long drawer on the bottom of the refrigerator, and I filled it with cheese. Like
Yes.
filled that sucker. And then there's cheese overflow on other shelves. But I'm like, this is like the cheese drawer that dreams are made of. There's like
Yes.
all different kinds of cheese. Yeah, all the cheese. So
Well, you
there's
have to
no,
be prepared. You have
yes,
to be prepared for when there's like you need shredded versus slice versus block versus creamy. You need to be
you got your cheddars, you got your Colby Jacks, you got your mozzarellas, you got your American, you've got this. Any other specialty cheese? There's some cheese curds in mine right now, which is really exciting because in New York we don't get those really good cheese curds like you guys get. So this is like it's like a sacred thing. There's actually cheese
ooh,
curds in my drawer right now. So
nice. I didn't
that's
know
the
that. I would have thought cheese curds would have been like I was picturing you guys a little bit like similar to us in the Midwest.
yeah,
But
the cheese curds. I mean, they're a thing around here, but they're not like we don't have those like super fresh, squeaky ones, which is
yeah,
disappointing.
yeah, I got some
You can't go
yesterday
into
at
the
our
convenience
creamery.
store and just order cheese curds. It doesn't work. So
Yeah,
when you get good cheese curds, you like run with it.
I will
So
put that in the package with honey.
perfect. Fresh squeaky cheese curds, honey. I mean, what more could a girl want, right? I'm gonna go for one. Ooh, wait a second. Hold on, back it up. Gotta go through my list here. What's this is more of a harder one. I told you I wasn't gonna put you on the spot, but I'm gonna put you on the spot. What is your favorite thing about yourself?
Ooh.
I told you.
Um,
Sorry.
probably um like my creativity. Well, no, I'm going to say creativity, but in the sense of actually my thinking back to like personality styles. So I did like the Strengths Finder assessment. One of
Mhm.
my personality styles is a learner. So like I'm constantly intrigued to learn new information and do new things.
Mhm.
Thus, why I'm a veterinarian, dairy farmer, flower farmer, beekeeper, doing maple syrup. And lately we've just dived into the world of cow chiropractic. So like I'm
How chiropractic.
constantly, yeah, I'm doing like new things. So that's what I'd say. It's
I
fun to
like
learn
it.
new things.
That's a good one. And it's good to know these things about yourself, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's see. Now have a question that was left by another guest for you, which not specifically for you, but everyone
Sure.
leaves a few question for a future guest. My gosh, my words are escaping me today. Your question is, If you could do one thing over again in life, what would it be and why?
Ooh, that's hard. That's really difficult because I really feel like where you are now is such an accumulation of all of the things, all of the steps that you've taken in the past. And had I not had all the experiences and gone through all the things that I have in the past, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. It's not just like there's some things that maybe you're like, oh, that really sucked, or that it really was a difficult time for me, or I really would rather have not had that, like whether it's like a health issue or a personal relationship issue or something like that. Like all of that stuff makes us who we are. Like it builds a life worth living, like to go through all those things. So I'm going to say nothing. I don't know that I
Wow.
really want to do anything again, you know?
I
So
like it. Hey, that's your answer.
yeah,
That's good. And that's really good that you have accepted that in life, that that's how you ended up who you are and you wouldn't want to change that. So that's really good. I
yeah.
like it. And what piece of, or what inspirational quote, motivational quote, what kind of quote do you have for us today?
Okay, so mine is more like it's from a conversation between Huberman and Rick Rubin. If you know the Huberman Lab podcast, he had Rick Rubin on his podcast, and they were talking about life. And Huberman's question to Rick Rubin was, "How does one convince themselves that what they are doing and working on is worth it?" You know, and sometimes as a dairy farmer, we have this like question when things are challenging and prices are bad and it's a lot of work. So we always like, are we doing something like, is this even worth it? Like working hard, you know, we have this question all the time. And I thought Rick Rubin's like answer was great. And he's talking about being creative as an artist, but I think you can apply it back to being a farmer. And his answer was, the question of worth it is reliant on an outcome. We don't make these things for an outcome. It's not the mindset to make something great. The outcome happens. You are making the best thing you can make, and it's a devotional practice. Whatever happens after that happens, and the part that happens after that is completely out of your control. Putting any energy into that part that's out of your control is a waste of time, and all it does is undermine the work. Your job is to make the best thing you can make. So I love that because it reminds me like we got to stop worrying about what's going to happen in the future and you know and what's going on, and my job is to do my best today, and if I do my best today, the outcome will worry about itself. So yeah.
Very nice. I like it. And it definitely rings true to trying to keep that positive mindset when things are tough and just kind of help you accept the way things, helps you accept the outcomes of things, knowing that you did your best and how things pan out is the way that they're supposed to pan out. So,
Yeah, and I appreciate in there he talks about it's a devotional practice because I really feel like farming is it's a family heritage. It is a devotion. You know, we're serving others by trying to care for animals and produce food. So I do feel like it's a little bit of a calling, a little bit of a devotion, right? So yeah, I read that kind of just resonated with me. I surround myself with quotes, but this one was just, I don't know, a few months ago. I thought that was great.
very good. I love it. Anything else exciting that you need to share? Anything else going on?
Really, I guess we're just kind of in the middle of summer, rolling full bore ahead. Here we go. We'll be going up to the Minnesota State Fair, the biggest fair, I think it's the biggest state fair in the country. And we'll be showing cows there, rolling on into World Dairy Expo. Excited to do some stuff this fall. Excited that milk price seems like it's coming around a little bit for us here. And yeah, so
Awesome.
just,
I will be at Dairy Expo for a little bit as well, so I will have to meet up with
ooh, yeah, we'll definitely have to get together. Yeah,
you.
that's what I said. It's great. It's a great time, those cow shows, to get to see people and visit with friends and stuff. So that's awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, we'll meet up.
Yes. And Megan, where can people find you if they want to if they want to connect with you and see what you're up to?
So you could find me. I'm on Facebook, of course, Megan Schrupp, but I'm also on Instagram. I think my handle is Schrupp. You can follow me. And I post a little bit more about food and farming and my ventures that way on Instagram. Otherwise, just email, just nextgendairy@gmail.com if you have any questions.
Awesome. And I will link your Instagram in the show notes so that people can connect with you there. I really appreciate you coming on, Megan. I had a blast chatting with you and getting to know a little bit more about your farm and all the different things that you guys do. Again, if you guys liked this podcast, please share with a friend, leave us a review, do all the things because that is how small podcasts like this grow and reach more people. So I thank you so much, Megan. Thank you so much for coming on, and we will see you all next week.